Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big, butch, manly pop culture podcast that has mastered how to quickly shrink a browser window. It's necessary. I'm Shane Hollon.
And I'm Andrew Wheeler.
Today we are talking about the 2025 science fiction action film Tron Ares, directed by Joaquin Rønning from a screenplay by Jesse Wigatow. The film stars Jared Leto, Greta Lee, Evan Peters, Jodie Turner-Smith, and Gillian Anderson. This is the third installment in the Tron series and a sequel to Tron Legacy from 2010. 15 years, wow. A sophisticated artificial intelligence called Ares is brought into the real world to track an executive who holds the code that allows digital constructs to exist indefinitely in our world. Wow, that's pretty concise
Yeah.
for a 2+
That's
hour
all we
film.
needed.
Yeah. So Andrew, tell me, what's your history with Tron? What did you think about this film?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, did we all grow up with Tron? Yeah, once it exists, we all grow up with it.
Yeah.
But Tron was a big deal when I was very small. You know, we were dazzled by technology. Any movie about computers, especially a movie where you could go into a computer, that was huge. That was like groundbreaking. No one had ever thought that was a possibility. Now we know it's a reality, and it's kind of dull.
Yeah.
I was never as hardcore into Tron as a lot of my schoolmates, and it would later emerge that they were all straight and I was gay. So that, I'm not saying that's the reason, but I mean, there are no hot boys really in the Tron movie that I can. Well, Bruce Boxleitner, I guess, is pretty enough. The first movie was a fine Sunday afternoon flick. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't part of the cult. The sequel had Garrett Hedlund, who is beautiful, and I really missed him in this one. So I'm a person who doesn't need more Tron movies, but I don't begrudge them. Let them come. What I realized watching this film is that Tron is just Inside Out for boys, and the third Inside Out is going to have the emotions coming out into our world as real people. That's the only logical step. This film, another perfectly fine Saturday afternoon tea time watch.
That is fair. So I did not grow up with Tron because I'm just a baby at 40 years old.
We didn't have VHS, so we could.
It never, I mean, my parents weren't into it. It did not air on TV here that I'm really aware of. It just wasn't as big a thing. I only found out about it like maybe in 2008 days when the sequel was announced. I was like, well, I should see what it's based on. And it was fun. It was weird. I thought I would like it more being like such a sci-fi nerd myself, but it didn't really do it for me. But Tron Legacy, I love. Tron Legacy was really fun and really weird. And it has some incredible things about it that I love to this day, which I will talk about in coming segments of this episode. Ron Ares is really weird and less. I think the major point of contention, which you brought up, is there is no Garrett Hedlund or Olivia Wilde for that matter, but there is less Jeff Bridges. But Jeff Bridges is somehow even more of a God figure in this one. He's graduated from Christ figure to God figure. So there's that. These films take themselves so seriously. This one
That's it.
doesn't recognize the camp value in that, where the other two do, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's maybe where the sort of straight gay divide happens, is like if there's no irony or knowingness, and the humor is sort of the humor that could come from anywhere, then it doesn't have that queer appeal. It doesn't cross over to the queer audience as much. You really need to have someone as beautiful as Garrett Hedlund in the movie if you're going to get the gays on board, and a great soundtrack that sounds like what gays are listening to in the clubs. And you need a bitch with an asymmetrical bob, you know?
Yeah, that is what we came here for.
That's what we want.
And there's two of them in Legacy.
Speaking of bitches with asymmetrical bobs, bitch asterisk loving. Let's talk about the women in this movie.
Yes, absolutely. I will say Grace Lee is a breath of fresh for these films. She's great. She's a woman who has an identity, a fully fleshed out character with a backstory and her own motivation. Unfortunately, the last half of the film, she's a damsel in distress.
Yeah.
She gets sidelined from her importance in the first half of this film, and she doesn't get to do anything other than need help from a man. Well,
She she's she's the package that needs to be saved, that needs to be transmitted from one place to another, which
mhm.
is pretty demeaning.
Yeah, which we also saw in Tron Legacy, but I feel like at least Olivia Wilde was kicking ass the entire time. Here,
Yes.
Grace is just like, even when she gets put into the digital world, she's like, "What am I doing? How do I get out of here?" And it's like, "No, you had so much power."
Yeah. She was a video game designer. Why can't she just design a big gun or something?
Honestly,
Uh, and it is weird that any awards bait level actor, and Greta Lee is one of those, has to phone in a schlocky blockbuster at some point, and I don't know why. Like, let's just cast Megan Fox and other Megan Foxes in these roles. If you're not going to give them something to chew on, and Greta Lee doesn't really, apart from, oh, I had a sister and she's dead, like, she doesn't get to do very much either physically or emotionally in this movie. So as much as I enjoyed her character, I did feel like, well, why give this to Greta Lee? She was in Past Lives, for God's sakes. She doesn't need this.
no, absolutely not. And also, that was pretty meaning towards Megan Fox. I think Megan Fox is a really misunderstood actor. Gillian Anderson is also in this film, and I think this is the most thankless role, as all mothers are.
Wow, so true.
And there's nothing more to say about her besides she's disappointed in you, like all mothers are.
Yeah. But she's corporate mother. She's coded especially like icy, and but actually her role is not to be icy. Her role is to be disappointed.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gillian Anderson also someone who can do so much more, but was not given a reason to.
We
The paycheck must not have been big enough.
we got to watch this movie together. Thank you for that
Mm.
experience. And I did have the revelation mid-film, like, is Gillian Anderson English? And learned that, like, yes, she is both an English and American citizen. And
Yes.
what's the word? She is bi, uh, vocal, bi accented. She can speak in both a perfect American and perfect UK accent. And she's so she's just a bicon no matter which way you parse it.
Gillian Anderson, the lesbian's favorite leading lady,
Mhm.
and a strange awakening for a lot of gay men.
Yeah.
Bi-dialectical, apparently.
Bi-dialectical. Thank you. Which I'm sure someone came up with just to explain Gillian Anderson. She's bi and she's good at dialect.
I hope I'm not making up that she's bisexual. I'm sure she came out.
I'm sure she
From
came out as
maybe
bi.
everyone did.
You know what?
We do have a few great bi-dialecticals out there. Andrew Garfield is another. He is both British and American and seamlessly travels between accents.
This is true. Also, let's reclaim like bi should be a compliment. Oh wow, I really think they're bi.
Yes, we have said before on here, speculation is celebration.
Right.
When we think an actor might be queer, we're not trying to out them. We're saying,
I wish.
oh, they're great.
Yeah. There are two other women in this film.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
I did enjoy Sarah Desjardins of Yellow Jackets
Yeah.
as Erin, the assistant, mostly for the scene where she grabs the cowboy hat off Hassan Minhaj's head, just before he goes up on stage. I'm like, now we know where all the common sense is in this movie. She doesn't get to do very much either. And then we have Jodie Turner-Smith, the only person to rise above the material, basically playing a female Terminator type character.
Yes, if Bond were a woman, she would be at the top of the list of people I'd want to see play that Bond. She is the only one who's seriously cool in this film. She gets like the most fun action scenes. Like you said, she is the Terminator. Like that is just a fact. And she gets to scream so much. And she has this amazing like death scream that gets repeated a number of times. And that might be the most camp thing about this film.
Yeah, she's more Jodie Turner-Smith, more action roles for her. I think, she is an awards bait actor who doesn't need to be slumming it in blockbusters, but she proved in this one that we'd really enjoy her in more blockbusters. So please keep double dipping, Jodie.
Also, Sarah Desjardins is repping Canada aside from Vancouver, and they're both doing fine work.
Let's
Let's
move into the
talk about the
boys.
boys. So, one of your faves is in this, and I think we need to talk
See,
about him.
if Cameron Monaghan were the lead in this movie, I would have watched this movie in the theater. And I follow him and I saw him doing like training and
You're not
stuff for
supposed to
this
follow him.
movie. I was excited for him to be in this movie. And then I heard that he is in it for 5 seconds. And that might be too generous. Like it is him doing his own fight choreography because we've seen him do the training. But then he takes his mask off just before he dies, and we never see him again. I mean, I love Cameron Monaghan. I think he's very sexy. He's got a sort of doomed quality about him that I enjoy. And I think he could be great in say the role of Ares in this movie. I think he has much more complexity than Jared Leto, who has absolutely pissed all his complexity away years ago. What happened? Why is Cameron Monaghan not A, in this movie, and B, the lead of this movie?
The way that he doesn't come back in any shape or form is actually suspicious. Like, what happened? There must be something that happened. Like, he's done some great work, but he's so underutilized. And and yeah, he's in this film, but it's fine if you don't remember that because you just wouldn't know it.
And the one place where he is kind of, A-list upper echelon is in nerd spaces because he's Cal Kestis.
Right.
So he's, a big Star Wars name. Eventually, surely we're going to see him take that role on in live action. So yeah, the people that are the target audience for Tron Ares have all played that video game, which I cannot tell you the name of. I think it's called Star Wars
Tales of the
Adventure.
Jedi, something like that. I'm a Star Wars fan, and
That's
well, I was.
he's good.
I don't anymore. Uh, uh, Evan Peters, another nerd boy. He is also in this film, and I feel like he is one of the only ones who understood the assignment. He is mustache twirlingly evil. I think he's really fun in this movie. He is a disappointment to his mother, which maybe that's the queerest thing about this film.
Relatable.
I just wish he would stop being a coward and show us his weird tattoos.
This and Wake Up Dead Man. What is this thing with tattoos as promise of skin later in the film that is never
Never realized.
honored?
Yeah. If this is the trend of the
Um,
future, then we truly are entering our most conservative era, and I am very concerned.
he does have really cute "I'm a man now" hair. To Evan Peters always reads boyish, so he's trying to be like, yeah, I'm a man.
I mean,
Uh,
that's
it's really
adorable because it's not working.
yeah,
He still looks like he's
it's not
about
working.
25.
Yeah. Are there any other men in this film?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah.
There's Arturo Castro.
Oh yeah.
Get to him later, though. I feel like
Well, yeah. But he is funny.
I have nothing else to talk about in that category.
No. I think I actually just spoiled the only thing I had. Yeah, we have to. There once upon a time, 20, 25 years ago, I had an attraction for Jared Leto, and many of us did because
Hey, that's fine to say.
he was punk. He was like a musician who had broken into like actors' spaces, and that felt punk at the time. And over the years, it's just come out more and more that he is a terrible human being. And that is so on full display in everything he does now that you cannot separate that from him. He produces every film he's in because presumably he has very strong ideas about the script and his character. And to that, I say, what character? What script?
Yeah.
Movie doesn't know what it's trying to say with him or who the hell he is.
Yeah, he's a cipher in this. And I'm coming to think of Jared Leto as the Gen X Tom Cruise. He's holding on to roles that a younger actor would do better than him. but he has supposedly more box office power and certainly more Hollywood leverage, and so he gets to make these movies and miscast himself in them. This and Morbius and the upcoming Masters of the Universe are like a trilogy of movies that I would have been excited to see in the theater if he weren't in
Yep.
them. And I'm going to have to see Masters of the Universe in theaters because it's Nicholas Galitzine in the cute bondage vest.
Yeah.
How can I not? But like, I really don't want Jared Leto to be in it. At least his face won't be in it, I suppose. So that's something.
Yeah. And I mean, a part in this film, like there was the point early on in this film where I was like, oh, like it's just going to be Jared Leto's body. And then it is revealed that no, we're going to be spending a lot of time with his face. That was disappointing. Yeah. God, I don't really know what to say about him other than like I just found him so much of nothing in this that it was
Yeah.
concerning that they thought that he would be a draw in a franchise that is supposed to be weird and funky and nerdy. Like I just don't see
Yeah.
any of that in him, or at least not the weirdness that I want, you know?
Having had a crush on Jared Leto at some point in your life is not damning.
Thank
He
you.
was. I remember watching My So-Called Life with my older sisters and having that inkling that this was one of the most beautiful men in the world. But he has absolutely become a disaster of a presence, someone that drags movies down. I was so excited about the Alexander movie, and okay, that has flaws for a bunch of reasons, but Jared Leto as Hephaestion is maybe my biggest problem with that movie.
Mm,
He's in Blade Runner, he's in House of Gucci, he's in Suicide Squad very famously, where he terrorized his co-stars because he was playing the Joker, a thing
ugh.
that other actors have managed to just do. Didn't need to become all Daniel Day-Lewis about it. Yeah, I do not know why anyone thought this was a Jared Leto vehicle, except from what you said, he was a producer, so he thought it was a Jared Leto vehicle. I feel like no one else would have that confidence, and the box office tells us that he was wrong to have that confidence.
I mean, the good news is the average space in between these movies is 20 years. I mean, unless he's coming back as the next God figure, we won't have another Jared Leto Tron film. Will we ever have another Tron film? I can't see that
You know what?
happening now.
Put Hudson Williams as the lead in the next Tron film, and everyone's going to come. So
Mm,
you know,
yeah, fair. That is a good point. And he's
you
got
could just
that,
make another one tomorrow.
he's got that mask of a face that could easily do I am from the
Yeah,
computer, but I am also emoting in a way that you would never understand. Enough said.
very important.
Yeah, I'll save my last note till later. Okay, let's talk about the music. I have a lot to say about
Okay, I have much less to say, except that I do miss Daft Punk, and I think that's probably most of what you're going to say.
it. Yeah.
I love Depeche Mode in their cornball era. I just can't get enough. Great needle drop. Now the floor is yours.
I will second that I just can't get enough is the only needle drop worth talking about in this film. And it is also weirdly a plot point. Like interesting choice, but I did appreciate that. That was a good part of this film. And I should say there are good parts of this film. There's some really fun things to watch. As an action film, it is mostly entertaining. My bigger problems with it are the casting, obviously, and then this. The Daft Punk soundtrack was so good that it elevated the Tron Legacy experience in an unexpected way and a profound way. It contributed to the storytelling. It contributed to the legacy of the original film. It was just so above and beyond. Like it was Academy Award nominated. It was Grammy nominated. It's one of the final acts of one of the greatest electronic music artists of our generation. The Trent Reznor soundtrack is so obviously Trent Reznor. It just distracts
Yeah.
and it clashes. And then he sings at the end to remind you that it's him and that it feels like a cheesy 90s action flick. It's so tone deaf in a way that the entire movie felt tone deaf.
Yeah, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have done some incredible movie scores. Like
Yeah.
since The Social Network in 2010, this seems like it has been their major focus. This is the first time they've released a movie as or scored a movie under the name Nine Inch Nails, which apparently was a condition from Disney. But it is the team that did Social Network, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, like just a long list. That's just the first three on the list. Long list of incredible movie scores.
I don't want to say that they're not good. I don't want to say that they're not good.
Queer, which we loved, but then this, and it's not, yeah, they are good. They're in the wrong place.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah. Having Daft Punk, an electronic music duo who deal in like a Tron-like world. Their whole persona is based on the original film Tron. To then go to this like metal rock duo who again do great work. Like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, love it. Gone Girl, mind-bendingly love it. I haven't seen The Social Network. I think they're great, but it is just so rock forward in this film about electronics. It's that disconnect. And I don't know who could do it. I'm gonna put forward someone. Actually, I do know who could do it. Disclosure. Disclosure would have been a great choice because they are EDM. They are like hyper paced, but they also know how to like slow it down and have mellow tracks. And it's another duo. I'm not saying it has to be a duo to do this film, but if we were going to hire like someone in the EDM world who I think could match what they were trying to get across, then that would be who my pick is. But they just went with, yeah, like metal rock and it just made me value the Daft Punk soundtrack so much more.
I'm nodding like I know who Disclosure is. I have no clue.
It's okay.
I just put Kylie in charge of everything.
Oh my god, that would be incredible. I can just hear the padam
At
padam.
least she understands EDM.
She speaks the language. Okay, I've talked myself out. Let's move on to the fashion.
There are some incredible visuals in this film, but they feel a bit hollow. If you're about a movie about the digital experience, you should have better deep fakes than they have in this movie. Like, that technology is clearly still very bad. But my biggest complaint could be summed up in 2 words. No, wait, maybe it's 1 word. Cybertruck.
Yeah,
There's too much Cybertruck in the aesthetic of this film.
yeah. There's a literal cyber tank. It just feels like the muskification of everything. But maybe that was the point of the film, but I don't know what the film was. I mean, speaking of Jared Leto's queer baiting, he's different. He has a triangle and not a circle, and it's upside down. It's like, no, there is no queer allegory in this film. I'm sorry to jump to that point, but
yeah. No, the triangle being like this big. Oh, yeah. If that's
So
your biggest
absurd.
like style statement,
Yikes.
let's go back to the drawing board.
Okay, positive. I still love the Tron cycle. Seeing it in the real world was the promise of this film, and it delivered. It looked so cool. I still want one. I believe they made like working models to film that really intense and cool chase scene through the streets of Vancouver.
Yeah.
That I will give it all its props to. And I will also shout out Grace Lee's white and blue leather motorcycle jacket. That's a piece of art.
Yes. She had some really cool. Well, that particular outfit was really cool. But yeah, this is not adding in the way that the previous Tron films actually added to the culture. This doesn't do that same work. And we should also mention this is a film about 3D printing, and that feels kind of dorky.
Yeah.
It's very now. It's very dorky.
Yeah. Wow, that just made me remember like I remember when Legacy came out and like that winter everyone had a light up harness at the club. Like every gay had that harness that glows in the dark and I miss that. Bring that back. Make that the fashion. I'm trying you cannot see it. It's like
Yeah, show us.
I mean okay, yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah, if I just cover it. Yeah, see? Cool. Now,
This is the most high-tech thing I could find in my wardrobe. It's a glittery scarf.
we're
Micronauts t-shirt. It's, that's all I've got.
we are the height of fashion ourselves. Okay.
I never went to the clubs with a glowing harnesses. I went to a few goth clubs because I was best friends with a goth who would go to Cyberdog and buy the glow in the dark stuff there. But it
Oh,
was so
God.
expensive, so I think he had like one piece.
Yeah. That also prevented me from participating in the fashion. Light up harnesses are still incredibly expensive, and I don't go out anymore. Like, where am I going to wear it? At home? I'm just trying to convince myself to get one. Anyways, let's talk about the queerness still.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, non-existent unless you count mourning the loss of your boyfriend, who is a friend who is also your boy, or who is your yeah. You heard it.
Arturo Castro is in this movie.
Yes,
I kind of hated it.
he doesn't get to be gay.
Funny in parts. He is funny, but he doesn't get to be gay. And this thing where people who are on like streaming service subversive sitcoms end up playing the comedy sidekick in big budget movies. Like, I could make a list, but I couldn't name them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've seen that thing enough times. Charlie Day in Pacific Rim would be the sort of the version of that. I feel
Yeah.
I'm done with it. I don't need that. Put character actors in those roles, or don't have those roles. Actually, those roles are terrible.
Yeah. What did that character do to add anything to this story? I cannot think of a single way that his character contributed to this film.
The only other queer thing I can call out is that towards the end of the movie, Ares and Athena have a duel that is entirely conducted in ribbon dance. And that was gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Gayer, but it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
So 3 cheers for ribbon dance.
Yeah, that's it. I got nothing else. I mean, this is a Disney effect.
Jared Leto's queer baiting, but
I mean, honestly, like if Disney's going to make a film, they are going to be sure that there is nothing controversial about it, and that is, that I mean, God, many people have talked about how Disney has ruined filmmaking. I don't need to add to that conversation.
If Arturo Castro's character had mentioned a boyfriend, then he could have been Disney's first exclusively queer character. Is that the phrase? No, not queer. They would never say queer.
That's right. He's dating LeFou. Yeah.
Finally.
What a good time. Should we rate this movie? Yeah.
Oh, I suppose we must.
All right. So we're going to give the movie a score between 0 and 5 or 1 and 5. And then we do award bonus points for the aforementioned categories: women, boys, music, fashion, queerness. And we are allowed to apply a penalty if there was anything particularly egregious in this film. Andrew, what is your score?
I've given this movie a really hard time, but I was thinking it might be a 3 because it's so right in the middle. Maybe it will age well. I don't know. And I also know that I'm not going to give it a huge amount of other points. Yeah, I'm going to say 3 for being mediocre, but that feels like it's just a generous 2.
I feel the exact same way. Like, this is so middle of the road. It is so inoffensive that it's almost offensive, but not offensive enough to distract from it being an action film. It's a 3.
Jodie Turner-Smith is great. Everyone else is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. God, I feel like I've given the women a point for less in the past, but also this is a movie that was made this year or released this year. It could have done so much better.
Last year, we're in 2026. You need to update your checkbook.
I'm not going to give the women a point. I'm so sorry. They're all fantastic actors, but not in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow your lead on that one. Boys, I almost want to take a point away for the lack of Cameron Monaghan in this movie, but it can't get above a 0 from me.
No, I'm sorry, but when your whole thing is Jared Leto as Christ, that's a distraction. That's a 0 from me.
All Jared Leto movies, he's playing Jesus Christ. It's exhausting.
So exhausting. And then the music, I mean, how could I give it a point after that fucking monologue of mine? So no, God, Prince, send it to the press.
Yeah.
No.
I want to be able to give it the point because that's what Tron movies, like I would give Tron the point.
I would give Tron Legacy the point. There wasn't anything new.
Part of me that's like, well, maybe because we're living in this moment, maybe I'm not seeing it, but I think I am seeing it. I don't think I can give it the fashion point, which was the one point that I thought maybe it would get. That and women were the ones where I'm like, well, it could get a point.
No. Yeah, I cannot. Like, really cool motorcycle jacket. That almost saved the movie for me. But yeah.
Really cool motorcycle.
Really cool motorcycle. Am I rethinking this? No, I don't want to think too hard about it. No, it doesn't get the point for me. It was all done previously. The things I liked were all done previously. And then this film is anti-queer.
Yeah, because they killed Cameron Monaghan, who's just a fame playing a queer boy who go-go danced. So, yeah, why are you denying us these riches? And Jared Leto, as we've said, is a queer baiter who needs to go live in his yurt at the top of a mountain, which I'm sure he has.
Oh, I'm sure he's doing it right now, and he's so filthy rich. So that gives this movie a 3 out of 10. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, that
It's
feels
not generous.
it's not generous, and it's just so hard to not compare this film to the one I really like from this series. You know, this movie is so difficult to like because of how much I loved the other one, and that tainted the experience. And I'm sorry if you were a fan of Tron Ares. It's just not going to be Tron Legacy, and it is what it is. But I will say it's a fun mid-afternoon popcorn flick. Great background movie. Great thing to have on and be like, "Oh, that looks fun," and then not think twice about it. Thinking about that, about this film, was the problem.
Yeah. It's not a movie I'll ever put on again, but if it's on in the background, I'll be like, oh, I'll stop and watch that chase sequence. Oh, I think Jodie Turner-Smith's in this scene. Great. Maybe we need to do Tron Legacy.
Oh my God, we should do Tron Legacy. Any reason to watch it?
Garrett Hedlund movie.
Yeah, me too. And wow, the things that hold up in that are great, and the things that don't are worth talking about. Well,
We got one good thing out of this.
Well, if you liked this video, please consider liking the button right here and also subscribe.
Like that button.
And also go back and like and subscribe and watch the rest because we do this a lot. It's falling apart. Thank you so much for watching. As always, kiss, kiss.
Bang, bang.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBpod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.